What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of WFTCAST. Today we have a good one. We've got the recap of the Cowboys game, some major injuries from the Cowboys game, COVID outbreaks in Washington, and what does Washington need to do to make the playoffs. Starting here with the Cowboys versus Washington game, it was a 27-20 loss to Dallas. But I feel like the game was a lot different than what the score shows because the offense for Washington was not working at all. We did not look good the entire game. We had some major turnovers to start the game and couldn't capitalize off of defensive stops. Also, an early pick from Heineke did not start off the game that great. After the defense got a turnover, it did not look good. The O-line could not step up to, as I talked about this in my last episode, where the O-line would definitely need to step up with Randy Gregory coming back. You got DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Randy Gregory, all at the same defensive line, and they made a huge impact as Micah Parsons was unstoppable. 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, and a tackle for loss. Randy Gregory also, he tipped the ball to himself and intercepted it off of Heineke and took it back for like 30 yards, I think, which was crazy. Also, Heineke, later he threw a pick 6. It did not look good for Washington. Heineke finished the game with 11 of 25, 122 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and a 4.9 quarterback rating. He finished the first quarter with a 0.0 quarterback rating. This was not the game for Heineke. The run game didn't get going as well until really the end, but it was already too late for Washington. They had 23 rushes for 100 yards and a touchdown. This touchdown came from Jonathan Williams, who just got elevated from the practice squad a few days before because J.D. McKissic is out of this game with a concussion. So, nice job there from Jonathan Williams. You know what they say, next man up, and he really took that to another level. If there was one word to describe the Washington offense on Sunday, it would be injuries. Taylor Heineke, a knee injury. He should be set to start against Philly next week. Kyle Allen did come in for a little bit. He led them to a touchdown drive that Jonathan Williams really took over that drive pretty much, run after run, picking up 10 or so yards. I've never heard of this man before, but he really did good. Also, Terry McLaurin, about in the third quarter, I think he got a concussion. It's going to be interesting to see if he clears protocols before the game against Philly. I personally don't think he will. It was a pretty hard fall on his head, but hopes up for him. Charles Leno, he got a back injury. It's all good for him, and he should be ready to go here starting for Philly next week. And finally, the center, Tyler Larson, he got an Achilles injury. It does not look good from the replay, but he is set for an MRI, and right now it's listed as questionable on the WFT injury report. If there's one bright thing to look out for this Washington team on Sunday, it's got to be the defense. And the defense played incredible for the amount of injuries and COVID players that were out. First of all, they were without their 4 defensive ends because of COVID and injuries. Of course, you have Montez Sweat and Chase Young, both of them out with injuries. But Montez Sweat, his return was cut short. He's still been out because he tested positive for COVID last week, which started a downward spiral for Washington, which I'll get into in a little bit. Also, they played great for the amount of injuries, like I said. Although it looks like they gave up 27 points, they really only let Dallas to score 1 offensive touchdown. They were put in tough positions over and over again, but they really came through as Greg Zuerlein had 4 field goals, which sounds like a lot, but multiple times the Cowboys started in Washington territory or at midfield. Really great from this defense. Their red zone defense was absolutely incredible. Greg Zuerlein's longest came from 38, which just shows how good their red zone defense really is. And now here for the COVID outbreak for Washington. 37 players on Monday tested positive for COVID-19 in the NFL, which this is absolutely absurd and terrible at the same time for the NFL in general. Currently on the COVID list for Washington, defensive end Montez Sweat, linebacker Khaleke Hudson, cornerback Darrell Roberts, defensive end James Smith-Williams, defensive end Casey Toohill, defensive tackle Jonathan Allen, defensive end Will Bradley King, linebacker David Mayo, and tight end Tamarick Hemingway. 9. And by the time this video comes out, there'll probably be more too. 9 players on the COVID list for Washington, including starting defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. Now, here with the COVID rules in the NFL, if you are vaccinated, which I know Jonathan Allen is, Montez Sweat is not, that's why he's been out, and a few others I think are and are not, I'm not really sure though, but I know Jonathan Allen is and Montez Sweat is not. If you are vaccinated, then all you need is 2 negative tests within 24, I think, hours of each other. So at the best, Jonathan Allen comes back in 2 days, and he's able to play against Philly on Saturday. Also, for the Cowboys, wide receiver Cedric Wilson also tested positive for COVID, got put on the list. So there might have been a lot of COVID going around at this Dallas-Washington game, and just in the NFL in general, a lot of COVID outbreaks for a lot of teams right now, especially ones that are in playoff hopes, like the Dolphins as well, are also having a COVID outbreak, I know, right now. So this is not good. This is extremely bad for a lot of NFL teams, including the Washington football team. Washington will play Philadelphia on Sunday, and there's a lot of questions right now up in the air for Washington. I can answer some of them right now. As will Kyle Allen start on Sunday? No. Kyle Allen, he looked pretty good at the end of the game after Heineke got hurt, but he will not start. Per Ron Rivera, Taylor Heineke will start for this game if he's healthy. Also, playoff chances for Washington. Well, a loss to Philly this weekend would give us under a 19% chance to make the playoffs, while a win would put us at a 51% chance to make the playoffs. Washington's schedule to end the season will be the Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants. So 4 division games now, 1 division of those 5 stretch already done, and that will be a loss. But here for Washington, win all 4 and you're guaranteed a spot. Lose 1, let's say we lose to the game against Dallas, we now have an 89% chance of making the playoffs. So wins against the Eagles and Giants, 2 teams that we can definitely beat. We can definitely beat for sure. Those wins will most likely put us in the playoffs. It would give us an 89% chance. But a loss to the Eagles or a loss to the Giants would, I believe, take us down to like 20-something% to make the playoffs. This is not good at all. So best case for Washington, we win out somehow, beat the Cowboys the day after Christmas, and we make the playoffs. Next thing, we lose to the Cowboys the day after Christmas, win the other 3, and we most likely make the playoffs. But what cannot happen for Washington right now, we cannot lose games that we can win. The Eagles, they're 6-7 right now. They're coming off the bye. We play them on Sunday. That game has to be a win. It's in Philadelphia. It'll be a huge win for Washington. Also, the final game in New York against the Giants, that game has to be a win as well. Because if we lose that game, our playoff chances might come down to that one game. Washington loves to make their playoff chances come down to the final week, and they need to win this game. I mean, they're playing Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is trash. Washington needs to win this game. Thank you guys for watching this episode of WFTCAST. I'll have a link down below in the description for how I have all these percentages of, oh hey, if Washington wins this game, they have a blah 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 percent chance of making the playoffs. If they lose this game, they have now whatever, like a 15% chance. I'll have a link to that down in the description. It's pretty cool to mess with and see, oh hey, all the different scenarios that Washington can make the playoffs in. See you guys in the next one. Peace.